The emergency beacon cut through space like a scream. Chief Medical Officer Zelnara looked up from her morning reports as the alarm filled the bridge of the Time Stellar Harmony asterisk. Her forearms moved quickly across her medical console, while her large, dark eyes focused on the incoming data. "What do we have?" Captain Vorth asked. The tall Kytherian warrior stood behind his command chair, his gray skin marked with the scars that showed his years of space service. "Distress signal from a human cargo freighter," Communications Officer Thrix reported. The small, furry Belvani's ears twitched as she worked her controls. "Ship designation times, Iron Wing asterisk. Signal is weak and breaking up." Zelnara felt her stomach tighten. In her 300 years as a doctor, she had treated many species, but humans were still new to the galactic community. They had joined only 50 years ago, and their biology was still a mystery to most medical professionals. "Location?" the captain asked. "Near the Zerion pulsar," Thrix replied. "Distance of about 12,000 kilometers from the star." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew that zone was deadly. The pulsar shot out radiation that could cook most life forms in minutes. No ship was supposed to go that close. "Any life signs?" Zelnara asked, already knowing the answer would not be good. "Negative," Thrix said. "But the radiation is making scans difficult." Captain Vorth stood silent for a moment. Zelnara had served under him for 20 years. She knew he was thinking about the risks. A rescue mission near a pulsar was dangerous, even with their ship's heavy shielding. "How long has the ship been drifting?" the captain asked. "Based on the signal timing, at least 4 standard days," Thrix answered. 4 days. Zelnara knew that no known species could survive 4 days near a pulsar. The radiation alone would kill most beings in hours. But something made her speak up. "Captain, I request permission to take a rescue team," she said. Vorth turned his scarred face toward her. "Doctor, you know as well as I do that anyone on that ship is already dead." "Maybe," Zelnara replied. "But humans are still new to us. We don't know everything about their biology. If there's even a small chance someone survived, we have to try." The captain studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Prepare the rescue shuttle. Full radiation protection. You have 30 minutes before the pulsar's next major burst." Zelnara gathered her medical team quickly. Dr. Heems, the ship's xenobiologist, joined them with his 8 spider-like legs moving fast across the deck. 2 security officers came along for protection, carrying the heavy radiation suits that would keep them alive near the pulsar. The rescue shuttle moved through space toward the drifting cargo ship. Through the small window, Zelnara could see the Time's iron wing times tumbling slowly. The ship looked like it had been hit by a giant hammer. Huge holes were torn in the hull. Metal was twisted and burned. Debris floated around the ship like a cloud of death. "Sweet stars," one of the security officers whispered. "How could anyone survive in that?" "Radiation levels are off the scale," Dr. Heems reported, his mandibles clicking nervously. "This ship has been cooking in pulsar radiation for days." Zelnara felt her heart sink. No one could live through that. But they had come this far. The shuttle docked with the Time's iron wing times at an airlock that was still mostly intact. The team put on their radiation suits and checked their equipment twice. The suits were bulky and heavy, but they were the only thing standing between them and a horrible death. "Stay together," Zelnara ordered through the suit radio. "We sweep the ship fast. If we don't find anyone in 20 minutes, we leave." They entered the cargo ship through the damaged airlock. Inside, everything was dark and cold. Their helmet lights cut through the blackness, showing walls covered with ice and debris. The ship's life support had been dead for days. The air was gone. The temperature was far below freezing. They moved through the corridors carefully. Each room they checked was empty or destroyed. In the cargo bay, they found containers that had been torn open by the ship's tumbling. Goods were scattered everywhere, frozen solid. "Nothing here," Dr. Heems reported. "The crew quarters are completely destroyed." "Nothing here." "Wait," one of the security officers said. "I'm getting a reading from the lower engineering section." Zelnara felt a small spark of hope. "What kind of reading?" Heat signature. Very faint. But it's there. They made their way down to the engineering section. The damage was even worse here. Pipes had burst and frozen. Electrical panels had exploded, but in the corner of the main engine room, their lights found something impossible. A small area had been sealed off with metal plates and emergency foam. Steam was coming from cracks in the makeshift barrier. Someone had built a tiny shelter in the wreckage. "Hello?" Zelnara called out through her suit's external speakers. "Can anyone hear us?" Quote, a weak voice answered from inside the shelter. "About time someone showed up. I was starting to think you guys forgot about me." The team looked at each other in shock. Someone was alive in there. After 4 days near a pulsar, someone was alive and talking. They carefully removed the metal plates and foam. Inside, they found a human male in his 30s. He was thin and dirty, with dark hair and tired eyes. But he was conscious and breathing. Somehow, he had built a small air pocket using damaged life support equipment and emergency supplies. "I'm Marcus Chen," the human said with a weak smile. "Engineer? Second class. Thanks for the pickup." Dr. Zelnara stared at him through her helmet. According to everything she knew about medicine and radiation, this human should be dead. Very dead. The radiation levels alone should have killed him on the first day. "How?" she whispered. Marcus looked confused. "How what? How are you alive?" Marcus shrugged, which seemed to hurt him. "Guess I'm just lucky. Though I have to say, this wasn't exactly a fun vacation." Zelnara quickly checked him with her medical scanner. The readings made no sense. High radiation exposure, severe dehydration, multiple injuries, and signs of oxygen deprivation. Any one of these should have been fatal. Together, they should have killed him 3 times over. Yet here he was, making jokes. "We need to get him to the medical bay immediately," she told her team. As they carefully moved Marcus to a stretcher, Zelnara found herself asking the same question over and over in her mind. What were humans made of that let them survive the impossible? She had a feeling this was just the beginning of a very interesting medical mystery. Dr. Zelnara had seen many impossible things in her long career, but nothing like this. Marcus Chen lay on the medical table in her sickbay, hooked up to machines that beeped and hummed with worry. According to every scanner she had, the human should be dead. "Run the cellular analysis again," she told her medical assistant. Nurse Quillix. The young Thylorian's head tentacles moved nervously as she worked the controls. "Same results, Doctor," Quillix reported. "Massive cellular damage from radiation exposure. His DNA shows breaks that should be lethal. But somehow, his cells are repairing themselves." Zelnara studied the readouts with growing confusion. In 300 years of medicine, she had never seen anything like it. The human cells were not just alive, they were actively fighting the damage and winning. "How fast is the repair happening?" she asked. "That's the strange part," Quillix replied. "It's faster than our medical computers can measure. His damaged cells are fixing themselves in real time." Marcus opened his eyes and looked around the medical bay. The human seemed surprisingly calm for someone who had just survived the impossible. "Hey, Doc," he said with a weak voice. "Any chance I could get some water? I've been running low for a couple days." Zelnara moved to his side. "Of course. But first, I need to understand what happened to you. How long were you without proper life support?" Marcus thought for a moment. "About 4 days total. The ship got caught in a solar flare right as we passed the pulsar. Everything went dead at once. Main power, backup power, life support, the works. 4 days, Dr. Heem said from across the room. The xenobiologist was studying the scanner readings with all 8 of his eyes. Impossible. The radiation levels would kill any known species in hours. "Well, I'm not dead yet," Marcus said with a small laugh that turned into a cough. "Though I have to admit, I wasn't feeling great toward the end there." Zelnara ran another scan, focusing on his internal organs. What she saw made her head tentacles curl in shock. His heart showed damage but was beating strongly. His lungs had been poisoned by toxic air but were still working. His liver had processed radiation that should have destroyed it completely. "Marcus," she said carefully, "what did you do to survive? What equipment did you use?" "Not much equipment left after the flare hit," Marcus replied. "I sealed off a small section of the engine room using metal plates from a damaged bulkhead. Used the emergency air canisters to make a little breathable space. Found some water from a burst pipe that wasn't too contaminated." "That's all?" Dr. Heems asked. "No radiation medication? No special protection?" Marcus shook his head. "The medical supplies were in a section that got vented to space. I had a basic emergency kit. But that's about it." Zelnara felt her world shifting. She had treated hundreds of radiation poisoning cases. Without proper medication and equipment, no species she knew could survive more than a few hours of what this human had endured for days. "Let me check your bone density," she said, running another scanner over his body. The numbers that came back made no sense. Marcus's bones were nearly 3 times denser than the galactic average for humanoid species. His muscle fibers were packed with more strength-producing proteins than should be possible. His blood carried oxygen with an efficiency that defied biological logic. "Doctor," Quillex whispered. "His brain scans show oxygen deprivation that should have caused permanent damage." Zelnara checked the neural readings. The human's brain had been without proper oxygen for extended periods. Most species would suffer irreversible brain damage or death, but Marcus was talking normally, thinking clearly, even making jokes. "Marcus, can you solve this mathematical problem for me?" she asked, displaying a complex equation on the room's screen. Marcus looked at it for a moment, then rattled off the answer, without even pausing to think. The equation was college-level calculus. His oxygen-starved brain had solved it faster than most computers. "How is this possible?" Dr. Heems muttered, checking his instruments again. Zelnara pulled up the galactic species database on her main console. She began comparing Marcus's readings to every known life form in their records. Kytherians were tough warriors, but their bones were only half as dense as this human's. Belvani had excellent healing abilities, but nothing close to the cellular repair she was witnessing. Even the legendary Zephyrians, who evolved on a high-gravity world, couldn't match these physical capabilities. "Marcus, tell me about your home world," she said. "What is Earth like?" "Earth?" Marcus seemed surprised by the question. "Define a little rough," Dr. Heems requested. Marcus thought for a moment. "Well, we have ice ages that cover most of the planet in glaciers, volcanic eruptions that can change the climate for years, earthquakes that level cities, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, droughts, plus all the usual predators and diseases." The medical bay went quiet. Zelnara felt a chill run through her body. Marcus was describing a death world, a planet so hostile that most species would consider it uninhabitable. "And humans just live there normally?" Quillex asked in a small voice. "Sure," Marcus replied. "I mean, we take precautions. Build our cities to survive earthquakes and storms. Develop medicine for diseases. Create technology to deal with the climate. But yeah, Earth is our home." Zelnara began to understand. Humans hadn't evolved on a normal world. They had evolved on a planet that constantly tried to kill them. Generation after generation. Only the strongest, toughest, most adaptable humans had survived to reproduce. "Marcus, what do humans do for recreation?" she asked. "Recreation?" Marcus brightened up a bit. "Oh, lots of things. Mountain climbing, deep-sea diving, extreme sports. Some people like to jump out of aircraft with just a fabric parachute. Others surf giant ocean waves or ski down mountains." Dr. Heems made a choking sound. "Those are recreational activities? They sound like suicide attempts." "They're fun," Marcus said with genuine confusion. "I mean, they're challenging. But that's what makes them exciting." Zelnara stared at her patient with new understanding. This human considered deadly activities to be entertainment. His species had evolved to not just survive impossible conditions, but to actually seek them out for fun. She ran one more scan, focusing on his DNA structure. The results confirmed her growing theory. Human genetic code showed evidence of surviving multiple extinction events. Their genes carried adaptations for extreme cold, extreme heat, high radiation, low oxygen, toxic environments, and crushing gravity. "Doctor," Quillick said quietly, "what should I put in his medical file?" Zelnara looked at the human on her table. Marcus Chen, who had survived 4 days of conditions that would kill most galactic citizens in minutes, who was already healing from injuries that should be permanent, who came from a death world and thought dangerous activities were fun. "Put down that we need more time to understand human physiology," she said finally. "Much more time." Marcus closed his eyes and seemed to drift off to sleep. His vital signs, which should have been failing, remained strong and steady. Zelnara realized she wasn't just treating a patient anymore. She was studying a species that might change everything the galaxy thought it knew about the limits of biological survival. Word traveled fast on a ship like the Times Stellar Harmony Asterisk. By the next morning, everyone on board knew about the human who had survived the impossible. Crew members found excuses to walk past the medical bay. They wanted to see the being who had lived for days near a pulsar. Captain Vorth arrived first, his heavy boots echoing in the corridor. The Catherian commander entered the medical bay with his usual stern expression. But Zelnara could see curiosity in his eyes. "How is our survivor?" he asked. "Recovering faster than any medical textbook says is possible," Zelnara replied. "His cellular repair rate is beyond anything in our database." Marcus was sitting up in bed, looking much better than he had any right to. The human was eating breakfast, that doctor. Heems had prepared a mixture of proteins and nutrients that should support human biology based on their limited knowledge. "Captain," Marcus said with a smile, "thanks for the rescue. Your doctor here has been taking great care of me." Vorth studied the human with the eye of a warrior who had seen many tough fighters. 4 days near the Zirion pulsar. Most species would be dead in hours. "Yeah. It wasn't my best week," Marcus admitted. "But humans are pretty hard to kill. We've had a lot of practice surviving bad situations." "Practice?" Captain Vorth sat down in a nearby chair. "Explain." Marcus set down his food and thought for a moment. "Well, Earth has tried to wipe us out pretty regularly. Ice ages that lasted thousands of years. Volcanic super eruptions that blocked out the sun. Asteroid impacts that killed off most other life. Plagues that killed half the population. We just learned to adapt." Dr. Heems entered the medical bay, his 8 legs moving quickly across the floor. The xenobiologist carried a data pad full of questions. "Marcus, I've been researching human history," Dr. Heems said. "Your species survived something called the Toba supervolcano eruption. It nearly caused human extinction." "Oh yeah, Toba." Marcus nodded. "That was about 70,000 years ago. Reduced our population to maybe a few thousand individuals. But we pulled through." The room fell silent. Zelnara felt her head tentacles curl in shock. Most species would consider near extinction to be the end of their story. Humans treated it like a minor setback. "How many near extinction events has your species survived?" Dr. Heems asked. Marcus counted on his fingers. "Major ones? Maybe 6 or 7. That's just the big stuff, though. We've had smaller disasters pretty regularly. Floods, droughts, disease outbreaks, wars. It's just part of life on Earth." "Wars?" Captain Vorth leaned forward. The Catherian understood warfare, but his species had achieved peace centuries ago. "Yeah, we fight each other sometimes," Marcus said casually. "Usually over resources or territory or ideas. We're working on that, though. Getting better at solving problems without killing each other." Zelnara realized that humans didn't just survive external threats. They survived each other. A species that had evolved to fight both their environment and themselves would naturally develop extraordinary resilience. "What about your physical capabilities?" she asked. "Can you describe normal human activities?" Marcus brightened up. "Sure. Let's see. Most humans can run for long distances without stopping. We can climb vertical rock faces using just our hands and feet. Some people swim across entire ocean channels. Others lift weights that are several times their body mass. Dr. Heems made choking sounds. Those are normal capabilities? For humans in good shape? Yeah. We also have people who hold their breath underwater for 20 minutes, survive in Arctic conditions with minimal clothing, or trek across deserts for weeks. For survival? Captain Vorth asked. Sometimes, but mostly for fun. Marcus replied with a grin. The aliens exchanged glances. Zelnara was beginning to understand that humans had a very different relationship with danger than most species. Where others saw deadly threats, humans saw exciting challenges. Marcus, what temperature ranges can humans survive? Dr. Heems asked, taking notes rapidly. Well, we live everywhere from the Arctic to the tropics. Humans work in deserts where the temperature hits 50 degrees Celsius. Others live in places where it drops to -40. With the right clothing and shelter, we can survive pretty much anywhere on our planet. And the gravity on Earth? Zelnara asked. Standard 1G, I think you call it. Maybe a bit higher than galactic average. Why? Most habitable worlds have gravity between 0.7 and 0.9 G. Dr. Heems explained. Your bone density suggests you evolved under higher gravity than normal. Marcus shrugged. We adapt. Humans have lived at different altitudes too. Some cities are at elevations where the air is really thin. People just get used to it. Communications, Officer Thrix entered the medical bay. The small Belvani looked nervous as she approached Marcus. I hope I'm not disturbing you, she said quietly. But I had to ask. Is it true that humans keep dangerous predators as companions? Marcus laughed. You mean pets? Sure. Dogs, cats, horses. Some people keep reptiles or birds. My sister has a python that's 3 meters long. Predators that could kill you? Thrix's ears were flat against her head. Well, most pets are domesticated. They're friendly. But yeah, some humans keep more dangerous animals. There are people who swim with sharks, handle venomous snakes, or work with large predators like lions and tigers. The room went quiet again. Zelnara realized that humans not only survived deadly environments, they actively sought out dangerous creatures to befriend or study. Marcus, how do humans view risk? Captain Vorth asked. The human considered the question seriously. Risk is just part of life. We try to minimize unnecessary dangers, but we don't let fear stop us from doing what needs to be done, whether that's exploring new places, trying new things, or helping others in dangerous situations, even when the risk could be fatal? Dr. Heems asked. Especially then, Marcus replied. Some of the most important things humans do are dangerous. Rescuing people from disasters, exploring space, advancing medical knowledge, fighting diseases. If we avoided everything that could kill us, we'd never accomplish anything. Zelnara felt a chill of understanding. Humans didn't just tolerate risk, they embraced it as necessary for growth and progress. No wonder they had developed such extraordinary survival capabilities. Doctor, Nurse Quillix called from across the room. The latest scans show his radiation poisoning is almost completely healed. Impossible, Dr. Heems muttered. But he checked the readings himself. His cellular damage has decreased by 80% in just one day. Marcus looked confused. Is that unusual? For any other species, radiation poisoning takes weeks or months to heal, if it heals at all, Zelnara explained. Many cases are permanently fatal. Huh, Marcus said thoughtfully. Human bodies are pretty good at fixing themselves. We heal from broken bones, recover from diseases, regenerate damaged tissue. It's one of our better features. Captain Vorth stood up slowly. Marcus, your species may be the most naturally resilient life forms we've ever encountered. Really? Marcus seemed genuinely surprised. I guess we never thought about it that way. To us, we're just normal. Zelnara looked at her patient with new respect. Normal. This being who had survived conditions that would kill most galactic citizens thought his extraordinary capabilities were normal. She was beginning to realize that humans might force the galaxy to redefine what was possible for biological life. The emergency alarm shattered the quiet of the Times Stellar Harmony's Times Medical Bay. Marcus looked up from the engineering manual he was reading while Dr. Zelnara checked his latest medical scans. 3 days had passed since his rescue, and the human was recovering at a rate that still amazed the medical team. All senior staff to the bridge immediately, Captain Vorth's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. The urgency in his tone made everyone move faster. I should go, Zelnara said, setting down her medical pad. Mind if I come along? Marcus asked, sitting up in his bed. I'm feeling much better, and I might be able to help. The doctor looked at him with concern. You're still recovering from severe radiation poisoning. Doc, I feel fine. Better than I have in weeks. Marcus stood up and stretched. His movements were smooth and strong, showing no signs of the trauma he had endured just days before. Against her better medical judgment, Zelnara allowed Marcus to come to the bridge. When they arrived, the command center was buzzing with activity. Officers moved between stations while data streamed across the main display screens. Report, Captain Vorth ordered as the senior staff gathered around his command chair. Communications Officer Thrix's ears were pressed flat against her head. Distress call from the Thylorian colony ship Times New Dawn **. They suffered a catastrophic engine failure near the gas giant Kepler 442b. Current situation? The captain asked. They're being pulled into the planet's gravity well, Chief Engineer Kolos reported. The massive Belvani's fur was standing on end with stress. Their engines are dead. Hull integrity is failing under the pressure. Marcus studied the displays showing the gas giant. The planet was enormous, with crushing atmospheric pressure and toxic gases that would dissolve most materials in minutes. The colony ship was caught in the upper atmosphere, slowly being dragged deeper. How many souls on board? Captain Vorth asked. 847 Thylorian civilians, Thrix replied quietly, including 130 children. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what those numbers meant. The Times New Dawn Times was a family transport, carrying entire communities to their new home world. Options? The captain asked his senior staff. Chief Engineer Kolos shook his massive head. The atmospheric pressure and toxic gases make rescue impossible. Our shuttles can't survive those conditions long enough to dock with the colony ship. What about using the Times Stellar Harmony Times itself? Dr. Heem suggested. Too risky, the chief engineer replied. If we get caught in the gravity well with them, we lose both ships and everyone on board. Marcus stepped forward. Captain, may I see the detailed atmospheric readings? Vorth nodded, and the data appeared on Marcus's display screen. The human studied the numbers with growing interest. Atmospheric pressure was 60 times Earth standard. The gas mixture included corrosive chemicals that would eat through most hull materials. Temperatures fluctuated wildly due to electrical storms. This is definitely challenging, Marcus said thoughtfully. Challenging? Dr. Heem stared at him. It's a death sentence. Those conditions would crush and dissolve any rescue craft in minutes. Maybe for normal rescue craft, Marcus replied. But what about a human-designed shuttle? The bridge went quiet. Captain Vorth turned to face the human. Explain. Marcus moved to the engineering display. Human ships are built differently from galactic standard. We designed for worst-case scenarios because Earth taught us that everything eventually goes wrong. Our shuttles have triple reinforced hulls, redundant life support systems, and emergency protocols for extreme environments. Even for those conditions? Chief Engineer Kolos asked. I've piloted shuttles through gas giant atmospheres for mining operations, Marcus said. The pressure and chemistry are similar to some of the outer planets in our solar system. It's dangerous, but not impossible. Captain Vorth studied the human carefully. You're still recovering from severe radiation exposure. Sir, with respect, I feel fine. And 800 Thylorian lives are at stake. Marcus looked directly at the captain. If there's even a chance I can reach them, we have to try. Dr. Zelnara felt her medical instincts fighting with her growing understanding of human capabilities. Marcus, the stress on your body would be enormous. The pressure changes alone could kill you. Doc, humans have been dealing with pressure changes for millions of years. We dive to the bottom of our oceans, climb to the tops of our mountains, fly in aircraft through all kinds of atmospheric conditions. Our bodies adapt. Chief Engineer Kolos pulled up the specifications for the human shuttle that had brought Marcus to their ship. These hull ratings are much higher than galactic standard, and the life support system has backup systems for the backup systems. Human engineering, Marcus explained with a slight smile. We assume everything will break at the worst possible moment, so we build accordingly. Captain Vorth made his decision. How long do we have? Based on current descent rate, maybe 4 hours before the colony ship reaches crush depth, Thrix reported. Marcus, can you be ready to launch in 30 minutes? The human nodded. I'll need to modify the shuttle's atmospheric filters and adjust the pressure system for the gas giant's chemistry. But yeah, I can be ready. Sir, Dr. Zelnara protested. This is medically inadvisable. His body is still. Doctor, I understand your concerns, Captain Vorth interrupted. But Marcus is right. 800 lives are at stake, and he's our only option. Marcus was already moving toward the shuttle bay. I'll need someone to help with the technical modifications. Chief Engineer Kolos followed him. I'll assist. But human, if you die attempting this, I'm going to be very annoyed. I'll try not to die, Marcus replied with a grin. It would definitely ruin my day. 30 minutes later, Marcus sat in the pilot seat of the modified shuttle. The craft looked small and fragile compared to the massive gas giant filling the view screen. Dr. Zelnara monitored his vital signs from the Times Stellar Harmonies Times bridge. Final systems check, Marcus reported over the communication link. All readings normal, Chief Engineer Kolos confirmed from the shuttle bay. Though I still think this is insane. Human normal or galactic normal? Marcus asked. Human normal, which makes it galactic insane. Marcus laughed as he started the shuttle's engines. That sounds about right. The small craft launched from the Times Stellar Harmony Times and dove toward the gas giant. Zelnara watched the shuttle's telemetry with growing amazement. As the atmospheric pressure increased beyond what should be survivable, Marcus remained calm and steady. Entering the upper atmosphere now, his voice crackled over the radio. Pressure is climbing. But the hull modifications are holding. The shuttle disappeared into the planet's toxic clouds. For long minutes, there was only static on the communication channel. Then, Marcus's voice came through again. I have visual contact with the Times New Dawn asterisk. Moving to dock now. On the bridge of the Times Stellar Harmony asterisk, the crew watched in silent amazement as the impossible rescue unfolded. Somehow, a human who had been nearly dead 3 days earlier was flying through conditions that would destroy most ships. Docking successful, Marcus reported. Beginning passenger transfer. For the next hour, Marcus guided groups of Thylorian civilians from their failing ship to his shuttle. Multiple trips were necessary, each one taking him deeper into the deadly atmosphere. With each trip, the conditions grew worse. Final group aboard, Marcus finally reported. His voice sounded tired but steady. All 847 souls accounted for. Heading home. As the shuttle climbed out of the gas giant's atmosphere, Dr. Zelnara monitored Marcus's condition. His heart rate was elevated but stable. His breathing was controlled. His body was handling stresses that would have killed most beings. When Marcus finally docked with the Times Stellar Harmony asterisk, he climbed out of the shuttle with a tired smile. His pressure suit showed signs of damage from the corrosive atmosphere. But he appeared unharmed. How do you feel? Dr. Zelnara asked immediately. Marcus thought for a moment. Tired, hungry, and really hoping someone has coffee. Behind him, 847 Thylorian civilians were being helped to safety by the ship's crew. Families were reunited. Children were laughing despite their ordeal. Captain Vorth approached Marcus with something that might have been respect in his stern expression. That was either the bravest or most foolish thing I've ever witnessed. No, probably both, Marcus replied. But everyone's alive, so I'll call it a win. As Dr. Zelnara ran her medical scans, she realized that Marcus had just redefined what the galaxy considered possible. Dr. Zelnara stood in her medical bay, surrounded by instruments that beeped and hummed with confusion. For the third time in an hour, she ran complete medical scans on Marcus Chen. For the third time, the results defied everything she knew about biology. Marcus lay on the examination table, still connected to monitoring equipment after his impossible rescue mission. He had flown through atmospheric conditions that should have crushed him, breathed recycled air that should have poisoned him, and endured pressure changes that should have liquefied his organs. Yet here he was, tired but healthy, asking if the medical bay had any decent coffee. "This doesn't make sense," Dr. Heems muttered from his station. The xenobiologist was comparing human physiology data to every species in the galactic database. According to our models, he should have died at least 5 different ways during that rescue. His shuttle took damage that would have been fatal to any other pilot, Chief Engineer Colossus added. He had come to the medical bay to check on Marcus after examining the rescue craft. The hull showed signs of chemical corrosion, pressure, stress, and radiation exposure. Yet he flew it perfectly. Marcus sat up on the examination table, looking around at the concerned faces of the medical team. "I feel fine, really. Maybe a little sore, but that's normal after flying in high-pressure conditions." "Normal," Zelnara repeated the word softly. That word had been haunting her for days. Nothing about Marcus was normal by galactic standards, yet he treated his extraordinary capabilities as routine. "Marcus," she said, setting down her medical scanner, "I need to ask you something. As a doctor, as a scientist, as someone who has spent 300 years studying life in all its forms." The human looked at her with patient, tired eyes. "Sure, Doc. What's on your mind?" Dr. Zelnara felt her head tentacles curl with emotion. "What material are humans made of? Your species defies every biological law I understand. You survived radiation that should have been instantly lethal. You healed from damage that should be permanent. You just flew through an atmosphere that should have killed you in minutes." The medical bay went quiet. Captain Vorth, who had been standing near the door, stepped forward to hear the answer. Dr. Heems stopped his research. Nurse Quillix paused in her work. Even Chief Engineer Colossus turned his massive form toward the examination table. Marcus considered the question seriously, his face thoughtful. "We're not made of anything special," he said finally. "Same carbon and water and minerals as most life, I think. Same basic biology." "That's impossible," Dr. Heems protested. "Your capabilities are far beyond normal biological limits." "Are they?" Marcus asked gently. "Or are your limits just different from ours?" Zelnara felt something click in her mind. "Explain." Marcus swung his legs over the side of the examination table and sat facing the group. "Earth tried to kill us for millions of years. Ice ages that lasted thousands of generations, volcanic eruptions that blocked out the sun and poisoned the air, asteroid impacts that destroyed most life on the planet, earthquakes, floods, droughts, diseases, predators." He paused, looking at each member of the medical team. Only the humans who could survive those things lived long enough to have children. Generation after generation, the tough ones survived, while the weak ones died out. "Natural selection," Dr. Heems said quietly, "but taken to an extreme. Every few thousand years, something happened that killed off most of our species." Marcus continued. "Volcanic winters, ice ages, plagues, wars. Only the most adaptable, most resilient humans survived each extinction event." Captain Vorth stepped closer. "Your entire evolutionary history was shaped by disaster." "Pretty much." Marcus nodded. "We learned to build things that wouldn't break when everything went wrong. We developed bodies that could keep going when they should have failed. We created cultures that valued stubborn determination over common sense." Zelnara began to understand. "You're not biologically superior. You're evolutionarily stubborn." Marcus laughed, a sound that seemed to lighten the mood in the medical bay. "That's a good way to put it. We got really good at refusing to die. But the physical capabilities," Dr. Heems insisted. "Your bone density, your healing rate, your endurance. These go beyond normal evolution. Do they? Marcus asked. Or did we just evolve under conditions that most species would consider impossible? He stood up and moved to the medical bay's main display screen, calling up data about Earth's environment. Our home planet has gravity that's higher than galactic average, atmospheric pressure that changes dramatically with altitude, temperature swings that would be lethal to most life, radiation levels that spike during solar storms. A death world, Captain Vorth said quietly. To you, maybe. To us, it's home. We learned to live with all of those challenges because we didn't have a choice. Adapt or die. Marcus pulled up more data about human activities. We climb mountains where the air is too thin to breathe properly. We dive to ocean depths where the pressure should crush us. We live in deserts and Arctic regions and every environment in between. And you do these things for recreation, Zelnara said, finally beginning to grasp the full picture. Because they're fun. Marcus confirmed. When your species survives by pushing physical limits, you start to enjoy the challenge. What seems impossible to you feels exciting to us. Dr. Heems was taking rapid notes. So human resilience isn't about superior materials or magical biology. It's about evolutionary pressure that would kill most species. Exactly, Marcus said. We're not stronger than physics. We just got really good at working within the limits of what's possible. Zelnara felt a profound shift in her understanding of biology and evolution. Your bodies learn to function at the edge of failure. And to keep going when logic says we should stop, Marcus added. That's probably the most important human trait. We're stubborn enough to survive things that should kill us. Captain Vorth studied the human with new respect. Your entire species is built for crisis survival. Writing. Yeah. But we're also built for hope, Marcus said with a smile. We keep trying to make things better, even when the odds are against us. That's how we went from hiding in caves to traveling between stars. Zelnara moved to her main computer terminal and began updating the galactic medical database. Under human physiology, she typed, biological composition, standard carbon-based life, evolutionary background, survival-focused adaptation to extreme environmental pressures, medical prognosis in crisis situations, assume survival, unless conclusively proven otherwise. Doc, what are you writing? Marcus asked curiously. A warning to other medical professionals, Zelnara replied. Never assume a human is dead until you've checked several times. Your species has a habit of surviving the impossible. Marcus grinned. That's probably good advice. Chief Engineer Kalos spoke up from his position near the door. Marcus, we've received official authorization to offer you a position as our emergency specialist. The job involves responding to crisis situations that are too dangerous for normal rescue teams. Dangerous situations? Marcus looked interested. What kind of dangerous? The kind that would normally be considered impossible, Captain Vorth said. Apparently, that's exactly what we need a human for. Marcus considered the offer for a moment. Sounds fun. I accept. Dr. Zelnara looked at her newest patient and felt a mix of professional fascination and personal fondness. Marcus represented everything she was still learning about the universe. Life found ways to survive that defied conventional wisdom. Evolution created capabilities that seemed impossible until you understood the pressures that shaped them. Marcus, she said as the meeting began to break up, one final medical question. Sure, Doc. How do you feel about helping us understand human biology better? Your species is still new to the galactic community. Medical professionals everywhere could benefit from learning about human physiology. Marcus thought about it seriously. I'd be happy to help. Just promise me one thing. What's that? Don't use medical jargon to make us sound more mysterious than we really are. We're just stubborn apes who learned to build spaceships. Nothing more complicated than that. Zelnara laughed, a sound that surprised her with its warmth. I think the galaxy is going to find humans much more interesting than you realize. Maybe, Marcus said with a shrug. But we're still just people trying to do our best. Same as everyone else. As the group left the medical bay, Zelnara realized that Marcus had given her more than just answers about human biology. He had shown her that sometimes the most extraordinary things came from the most ordinary determination to simply keep going. She looked at the updated medical database entry one more time and smiled. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were made of the same materials as everyone else. They were just too stubborn to let that stop them.